Hi everyone. Throughout this war, there's been a lot of conversations, especially now after the war, about why Armenia is so dependent on Russia and will probably always be dependent on Russia. And there's been many conversations about Armenia possibly joining, partnering with the United States, joining the NATO, taking out the Russian base, all these conversations, right? Why can't Armenia ally itself with the United States / Europe, the West overall? Well, there's a reason for that, and to better explain that, I'm going to use some historical facts. So I don't want to say that this is my opinion, this is actual historical events that took place, and you are more than welcome to research this yourselves, Google it, what have you. So Georgia, not the state Georgia, but the country of Georgia in the Caucasus had 3 autonomous regions, pretty much exactly like Nagorno-Karabakh, where these regions weren't recognized, but they were part of Georgia. They were Abkhazia, South Ossetia, and Ajaria. Shout out to Ajarsky, that's where the name comes from. So what happened is there was a war that took place in 2008, where basically the South Ossetians and Abkhazia said that we want to declare our independence, we choose to be independent, we are not part of Georgia, we are declaring independence. And so the conflict started with South Ossetia. And the reason there's a South Ossetia is because there's also a North Ossetia, which is actually part of the Russian Federation. So it's a territory of Russia. So there were Russian peacekeeping troops on the border of North Ossetia. And so when this war was about to start, the year was 2008, and there was a new Georgian president, Mikhail Saakashvili. Now, when this president came into power, he switched his entire politics pro the West. So he allied himself with the United States. Shortly before that, the Russian bases were taken out, but he switched the entire concentration of Georgia to be allied with the United States, Europe, NATO, etc. And so what happened is the United States, along with some European task forces and even NATO task forces, began to train the Georgians on certain military operations, gave them equipment here and there, no government level weapons or anything like that, but just began to train them. Their uniforms changed and operations and stuff like this. And so in that sense, the United States mainly gave Georgia sort of a backing, like, why don't you take care of this issue that you have going on there with South Ossetia and Abkhazia. Ajaria, by the way, was already part of Georgia. There wasn't really much of a conflict there going on, but South Ossetia especially, the United States pretty much gave them the green light to go ahead and just take care of it. We got your back. And so what the Georgian president decided to do is just literally wage the war, took the full-blown military force of Georgia and entered South Ossetia to liberate it, as it's a term that we've been hearing lately from Aliyah, right? He wanted to liberate South Ossetia once and for all, because this was a conflict that's been going on since 1991, post-Soviet era. Anyway, as this happened, because there were Russian peacekeeping troops in North Ossetia, by default, they got involved. So when they got involved, Russia now made a swift decision, without much hesitation, to obliterate this Georgian army. So the Russian army entered the South Ossetian conflict and destroyed the Georgian army and started pushing back deep into Georgia. At the same time, the Russians and the Abkhazian people in Abkhazia, they opened up a second front to this war and also started to destroy the Georgian army and went deep into Georgia from the other front. And so as this is happening, Georgia was destroyed, and they raised the white flag and said, okay, I stop, I'm not doing anything anymore, I give up. And so Russia then left Georgia, right? But in the result, Georgia lost a nice chunk of land, including a very, very large chunk of access to the Black Sea. And after that, Russia declared recognized Abkhazia as an independent republic, and put a base in Abkhazia and also put a base in South Ossetia, saying that I'm going to be a permanent peacekeeping force here to make sure that you never touch these people again. And so the South Ossetians, in that sense, and Abkhazians got their independence in a sense, or at least they're not considered part of the Georgian reign. Let's just put it that way. So as this conflict ended, Georgia now, having completely shattered its relationship with Russia, was looking to the United States and the West, looks at them and says, well, what the hell? Did you see what they did? At which point, the United States basically just says, well, you know, who told you to do that, dude? Yeah, I mean, shit happens. Because ultimately, the United States said, we're not going to cause a Cuban Missile Crisis scenario over Georgia, because that's the Russian turf. That's their zone of interest. They pretty much run that show over there. Now, of course, the United States was hoping Georgia would solve that conflict, and the reason they were hoping for that is so they can put their paws on the region to pressure Russia more and be involved in that region. I'm not saying they were going to put bases there, but at least have some sort of an influence in that region. It failed, and it failed miserably. And in the result, Georgia lost land. So ultimately, it was punished harshly. I'm not going to get into this next topic. You can look it up yourself. But the same exact situation happened with Ukraine and Crimea, where Ukraine went against Russia, pro-West, tried to take care of certain issues with the aid of the West, and because the NATO was trying to put a base in Crimea, and then Russia just pretty much annexed Crimea and declared it independent and made it part of the Russian Federation. And then again, Ukraine looked to the West, and the West said, well, sorry, dude. And so you see, both of these countries relied on the United States, and they never got any help. So, back to the topic at hand, Armenia. So when people say that Armenia can take out the Russian base, Armenia can forget Russia, screw them, we can go join the United States, we can go join NATO, we can go join this, go join that. Well, need I remind you that both Ukraine and Georgia are far more important pieces of land than Armenia. I mean, they have access to the sea, more resources, etc. And so if the United States wasn't willing to help them, why would they help Armenia? So imagine this scenario where Armenia makes this move, right? Takes out the Russian base, says, I'm fully with the West now. And then just like that, Turkey and Azerbaijan invade Nagorno-Karabakh proper fully. I don't mean just parts of it, I mean the whole thing. Just like that, poof, gone. And so at that exact point, Armenia will now look at the West and say, what the hell am I supposed to do now? Well, sorry, man, shit happens. Because realize this, Turkey, ladies and gentlemen, is already in NATO. So the United States is going to do everything it can to make sure that Turkey has more influence in that region, right? So it's more beneficial for the United States for Turkey to have the advantage, for Turkey and Azerbaijan to invade Nagorno-Karabakh so they can pressure Russia. It doesn't care about Armenia. Yeah, it'll make promises, sure, but at the end of the day, Armenia has nothing to offer. There's no resource, there's no oil, there's not even money to offer. There's nothing there for the United States to say, you know what, yeah, I'm gonna come and help you, I'm gonna give you weapons just so you can take care of your issues. It's a matter of regions, what zone you're in, and what interests these big countries have over that zone. To compare, imagine if Russia were to come and put a base in Mexico or something like that. That's not happening. Okay, so it's a regional thing. So people just need to understand this. But yeah, feel free to comment and let's talk. Like I said, these videos are mainly to engage Armenians into having these conversations, maybe more than they were having before. That's all for tonight. Thank you.